average of, say, 2 years. It always puzzled me where to code things to, what was right, what was wrong, what the legislation said, what was allowed and what wasn't allowed. The progression has gone of doubting myself. We are, as bookkeepers, very fastidious in what we do. We know that that is coded here, and that's it, and don't change your mind. So I want to ask you to open your minds right now, because I want you to see a big picture. If there is an expense, a legitimate business expense that didn't attract GST, would you put it at G11? I'm not talking about G10 at capital acquisitions. Would you put it at G11 if it was a legitimate business expense that didn't attract GST? Janelle, I know you're quite fastidious. Would you put stamp duty at G11?
That's always confusing.
Yeah, and that was one of my bugbears about this whole thing. Okay, so let me tell you a story. I put in a question through my bus agent's portal about this, how to complete an activity statement and what we put at G11. I was quite specific, I don't need to know about G1, quite clear there, G10, fine, it was at G11. Okay, so non-capital acquisitions. And 2 months later, I got a phone call and he was a GST specialist. So, let's talk. And he was brilliant because he said bookkeepers are 4% who, 4% of us lodge activity statements. 4%. The other groupings are tax agents, employees of Australia, which is the largest percentage, and business owners. Okay, so you think about who lodges activity statements. We are a small slither who are pedantic in what we do. So let's take the big picture. Employees of Australia, got no idea, never looked at how to complete it, never read any legislation. What are they going to put down? Everything. The ATO collates everything from activity statements and income tax returns and creates benchmarking for the industries of Australia. And on the benchmarking side, it has a disclaimer just above expenses, general expenses, saying not all expenses may be included here. But more the truth is, there's more expenses put on activity statements than what we would put on. Now this ATO gentleman, he cited a case where he rang somebody because they busted the ceiling on the benchmarking for expenses. So he thought, I'll just give him a quick call and ask him why. The person on the other end said, oh yeah, the accountant's just done the year-end figures, so the depreciation's in there. And he went, oh, okay, great. Tell me how much it was. And then he noted that on the file. And I said to him, well, isn't she still? And he went, I beg your pardon. He said, if she did her depreciation monthly, we wouldn't even question it. We wouldn't even call her. And so a lot of businesses do that. Depreciation is not excluded. It is not one of the 5 exclusions. So why can't you put it on there? Depreciation is a legitimate business expense. Like I said, this is going to open and go where we are, and this is a big picture. Okay, I'm not saying change, I'm just saying be aware the next time you sit down and go, oh, I've got $150 in stamp duty and I'm not going to put it on my tax. Go, is it a legitimate business expense? Is it a supply? And that's what you need to open your mind to. Now there are the exclusions, you don't put superannuation on it. Your wages go at W1 anyway, so they're getting that reported. And the ATO will, for benchmarking anyway, do a quick calculation of the percentage on your wages, what superannuation would be anyway. And this is what started me talking about it the other week. I was reading a Facebook post and somebody said, oh, should I put stamp duty on my bus? She didn't say anything about GST. And she got berated by the other members on this Facebook page. And I thought that's really unfair because it is a legitimate business. She said it was part of her insurance.
When you talk depreciation, are you talking about items that you're writing, or are you talking about the actual depreciation amount?
Look, if you see things around, like probably around your, 3 to 5 mil clients, and they'll do their journals mostly, the common thing is for them to report it on their returns. They include it in there. And that's what I went, no, they can't. And he went, it's not excluded. It was never included in the original 2010. They were completely and it's still not.
The question is generally you only include things on your business activity statement you hadn't spent like an actual invoice in that period. Yeah, so that's where when you bought something for $10,000, at that point, that's where you put that supply in your bag. Therefore, it's being depreciated if you're putting it in twice.
But it's not including GST, and that's what he's saying, is that G11 is, the majority of businesses in Australia reported that to their expenses, and if depreciation is an expense, they put it in there. They're not claiming any GST on it, so he was quite clear that he thought that most people's GST was correct. It was what they reported at G11. And your capital acquisition anyway would be reported at G10.
Because I thought it was supplies, not expenses.
Well, and I still wouldn't put it on there. I still would not, like that, but I was fascinated.
So do they put wages on there? That's an expense.
Oh, now that is one of the most common mistakes in Australia, to report wages as well.
But G11?
Yeah, that's still listed as the number one most common mistake made on activity statements.
So what's the 5 exclusions that you mentioned?
The 5 exclusions are, purchases and importations that are not related to your business, so a non-business expense. An amount for a purchase or importation of a car that exceeds the car limit for the relevant financial year, unless you are specifically entitled to quote an ABN in relation to the supply. Purchase of any third-party motor insurance premiums starting before July 2003. Okay, so they've still got that in their exclusions. Anything that is constituted by an insurer settling a claim under an insurance policy. Salaries and wages and superannuation contributions. So you don't put private purchases in there, even though most of our clients have everything by their business account. Don't. Now, one thing I want to bring up is that I was on a webinar last week with IPA and their GST guru. He brought up in the webinar that he thought that modern software companies were getting very lazy in their GST coding. And there was a few little comments typed up, what do you mean lazy? Yeah, because we all remember the old NYB days when we used to be able to create our own codes. Whether it be QUE for queries, SUS for expense, Gov for, rates and things like that. And it just separated them. And I always did it to make checking easier. That's what it made for me. It's like I could go through my pages and pages and go, oh yeah, okay, maybe that's going there, that's going there. But today we are lumped with, how many codes has Zero got? 6, 7? No, there's definitely more than 4. But it's like, you can, but they'll bring up a big red box saying that, it may not actually go on your activity statement. Because when I first went on Zero 2 years ago, I put in GNO. Because I love GNO.
Oh, yeah.
It just tells me, no, none of them do. Yeah. So it just told me that they're not registered for GST. I know what box they're in. It helped me when I'm doing the tea party payments that they're not registered for GST. So much. So I created that in zero, and I've still got the box there. Some of the codes are wrong and may not actually be represented on your activity statement. So basically, don't create your own. If it's basic excluded, then it doesn't actually go on your base. So somebody who's not registered for GST, you actually have to in zero put in GST free so that they go on your base. But technically, it's not a GST free. Yeah, and that's what he was saying. He feels that the software companies have become lazy in their coding, and therefore they also create to the people that they are marketing to be lazy and not actually. See, we question it every time when we actually code something. I can go, is that GST free? Is it? Or is it input tax? Where is it going?
If input tax is zero, is that a standard thing? And does that go on the back?
Yes. Input tax should go on the back. In supplies. Yes.
It doesn't, does it?
Yes, it does. Yes. You look at your calculation sheet, the sheet before that, it actually is reported. And on all of these, it's all reported. The only time your input tax is for, you know how we all got very clear about bank interest and things like that, and how it's an input tax, it doesn't actually go on the back. After all that. And it was last week's webinar that finally I saw it, because he actually put up the picture. It's actually G1 sales that go on the base, not any of the others. So it was like, oh, we go to all the trouble of coding an IMP and doing all this, and it doesn't actually go on the base. So it's not reported.
So it's bank fees or bank interest?
Income, yes. But your expenses, yes, it's a legitimate. Is it? I'll ask you a question. Is it a legitimate business expense? And that's the clarity around it.
So